Where you
Going to Sacramento.
Really?
I'm going to Sacramento for the real elimination game. Kings, Warriors. You know what I mean? And it's weird because I think since January 31st, the Warriors have put up like a top 7 record and a net rating that is like of a 50-win team. And then you go look at Steph's numbers post All-Star break. I don't even know if you know this. He's like 23-5-5 on 42, 38, 92 splits. That looks like a man that's tired and old. We just don't see it in that way.
Hey, man. Here's my thought, and I'm curious what you think about this.
Okay.
If we're operating under the presumption that Steph Curry is still a superstar, and I'm going to do that, right? For this, like, you can parse or whatever, but let's talk about this now. Let's say if you think Steph Curry is still a superstar, this team is one loss away from missing the playoffs, right? Like they got to win 2 to get in, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they're one loss away from missing the playoffs. Somebody has to answer for that, right? It's not the coach because they just gave the coach a big 8-figure extension for him to stick around. If you go look at Steph Curry's advanced numbers, they have not been good this year. Like he is, even if you think he's a superstar, he has not played like a superstar. Now, those two things can be true at once, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I understand there's a bit of a dichotomy at play there, but he has not been that dude, period. So if they don't make the playoffs, if he's supposed to be what he's supposed to be, if Kerr's supposed to be what he's supposed to be, who answers for this? Because somebody's got to, right? Or you go blame it on Bob Myers because he don't work there no more? Like there's no way that everybody can be what they say they are and they miss the playoffs.
Well, you know what the easy blame is here, right?
What, Draymond?
The $1 Million Dream. The $1 Million Dream. Draymond Green.
Yeah, Draymond.
This is what we're talking about. Like the games that he missed, both in that, whatever was that, the 5-game suspension, and then the, I'm going to go get my help, sabbatical that he had. You could make an argument that him being there is a difference between them being a 10 seed and a 6 seed, maybe. Because I don't think they're as good as a 4-5, even at full bloom, right? Maybe that's the easy thing. But Golden State, they've always been able, in my opinion, to operate under less than ideal circumstances, except for the period when they had Kevin Durant, and even kind of sort of then. And they've always been able to operate with that margin for error, even have that margin for error cut and still be able to emerge. That's how they got the 2022 ring. You look back at that. That's one of the most remarkable feats I've ever seen, to be perfectly honest. And I was around that team for the whole run. And I'm like, man, how do they keep doing this?
Right.
It just seems like they can't sustain the margin for error anymore. Or maybe Steph isn't supernova every night to sort of close the gap on the margin for error. Because who else do they have?
No, this is... If you didn't know they'd won 4 championships, what would you be saying about them?
Dude,
if you didn't know Klay Thompson was a 4-time champion, what would you say about him? If you didn't know Draymond Green was a 4-time champion, what would you say about them? Like, if you just walked in and just saw this team play, what would you think about them?
I would look at this team and say, there's a good team in there somewhere, but but it's not the team that I'm watching. Like, you look at them and you say, oh, they have a bunch of the tools, like the bones. You got some athletes there. You got Kuminga that's coming. Like, Klay can have a night every now and again. Steph can go super crazy. But the reason that, to me, I don't see if you agree with me on this one, because I feel like Steph falls in this, KD falls in this, LeBron falls in this. Maybe even to a greater degree, LeBron falls in this. The raw numbers look a certain way. But when you watch them on a night-to-night basis, they can rev it up on a given night, but they can't do it every night. Like, you can look at me and tell me Kevin Durant's numbers are the same as what he did when 2014 when he won MVP, and I tell you out of your damn mind.
Oh, no, that's crazy talk. He was the best player in the NBA.
But it just from the standpoint, Bo, of not being able to rev it up anymore. You know what I mean? Like, the numbers sort of lying to you.
Yeah, like I was at Barclays when LeBron James hit 40-something threes, right? And it was interesting because I'm not in arenas like that. And so it is easy to think of LeBron as this theoretical idea from the house, but then you get there and LeBron gets to cooking and it ain't no Nets crowd. I mean, if it ever was, but it ain't no Nets crowd no more. It's right. LeBron's house at this point. Like, it can still get up to these high levels that feel a way that nobody else can make this feel, right? Like, you and like, we agree on that part, but you're right. They can't just do it all the time. I mean, that was the Warriors last year, if we're going to be honest, right? And Steph plays a style of basketball with all that movement that he has to do. It takes a ridiculous level of physical conditioning to play the kind of basketball that he does. But they're just not, they all right. I mean, that's just all the way. Does anybody think they're a legitimate championship contender? No. And that raises all kinds of questions for me about why are y'all here, right? Like, I don't think the Lakers are a championship contender, but I see the reasons why they think they can talk themselves into believing they can win the West, right? Like, if a couple things break right, namely, like Jokic falls down steps, but if a couple things break right, I see why they think that they might be able to make something work. I can't think of what would have to happen for the Warriors to be champions.